everybody. Welcome. Hi, DeVika. All right. I am looking forward to today. Which conversation are we in today?
Well, we are in conversation 5, and we have arrived, I think, to your favorite one, access, which is really, I wanted to call this equity, education, and inclusion, but all of that is access. So, before we start, I really want you to share why is this one? Because you've tried to bring this one up a couple of times. I'm like, no, that's not it. We're not in that week. But what do you love about the access, which is, like I said, equity, inclusion, and education?
I think for me, just the reason why is because access isn't accessible. We shy away from access. We shy away from affordability of access. We shy away from who has access, what areas have access. I started. I lived in Denver, Colorado, until the third grade, and we went to museums, and we saw people, and we had culture, and we had that. And then the third grade, I moved to Rifle, Colorado, and at some point, one of the field trips included a museum, which was a house in Grand Junction. That was our field trip. Rifle's senior year, we did not get to go on a senior trip. Things are not accessible to people, and that's big town to small town. But even when you are in a big town, unless you take advantage of the access, and people use finances as a way of, I couldn't take advantage of it, or people use, it's too far. There's so many things that people use to remove themselves from the access of knowledge. But even in school, there are spaces where you don't have access of knowledge. You're not given full access. It's very limited, and it also depends on who runs the show and what their culture and what they choose. The people below them get to learn. And so access for me is something that I have fought for my whole life. It's something that I have really stood for people.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because what you're doing is you are distinguishing it from privilege. In this conversation, you would be by default assumed to have more privilege, but I by far have had more access. Access in education, access in economics, access in equity, access in inclusion. My access came from the fact that, like, by the time I was 2 years old, I lived in a foreign country. I've always grown up learning different languages. Five libraries were important to us. Just last night, I was having a conversation at the dentist and about the Encyclopedia Britannica, and how, like, when I was younger, the thing to do, the thing you had if you had money, I didn't know. And as a kid, I didn't know it was a status symbol. I just thought it was, you know, we're the house with the Britannicas. Like, I didn't know, right? And that was a big deal. We were the house that grew up with the Britannicas. I remember little kids walking over to my Miss Lyles, can I borrow your B Britannica? I mean, I don't know. If you're under the age of 35, you have no reference to what I'm talking about, because I'm older.
I'm 36 and we had them.
Okay, well, cool. Because I was like, I don't know when the cutoff was, but I do know that that was a thing. Like, it was a thing to have that kind of educational access in your home. And that access continued in my sexual education, because when I asked questions, I was given books, I was given references, I was given information. My son grows up where he has access and information. I mean, down to the access of full self expression in that I am one of the rare Black people, I think, maybe, who swears around and, not to, but in the company of her parents and lives. Um, we just had different access levels. You've been to my dad's house in Colorado. He ain't doing too shabby. I'm not going to say that we always grew up like that, but he ain't doing too bad. And so when we start talking about sexologically, not only are we talking about these kinds of access points, like who has access to sexuality education, who has access to being self-expressed. Like my son, like I said, I swear around my parents. I still kind of grew up with bad words. My kid has the full range. He's like that thing in that movie Inside Out, the full console of words. He's just taught that it's not bad words, it's bad timing. So even that is a different level of access for him. He has never been told he can't say those words. He has been told that there are kid words, there are adult words, and it's good timing, bad timing. Because even an adult saying an adult word can have really bad timing. And so, as you grow and as you continue to get that kind of access to different foods, access to different self-expressions, access to different music, that actually does shape your comfort with the access that you have to your sexual self. There's a TikTok that's going on this right now, and it's pretty, viral, and people are upset. And I don't quite get the upset, and I know that you don't watch a lot of TikTok, so I'm going to give you some background so you can know what I'm talking about. Apparently, there's this video, and this woman is in IHOP or some pancake place, and she's got this plate of pancakes, and she's doing like this little dance. She's videotaping herself doing this little dance, right, about the pancakes. And then there's this like schmowy, dry, hydrated person in the background who's like mad about this woman doing this video at her table with her camera. She's not getting up, she's not moving around, she's just at her table with her camera videotaping herself. And I have been in a online battle all day, and they think I'm fighting for something I'm not fighting for. I'm actually fighting for her right to have pleasure and access in her own space, at her own table, with her own stuff, with her own money, experiencing herself. They're like, well, somebody brought that plate to them 3 times. I don't care. I don't care if her boyfriend gave her plate 60 times for her to get that shot. She's at her table. She's enjoying her life. She's experiencing her pleasure. And if you've never had access to that kind of pleasure, you don't understand that kind of pleasure. And so, of course, you're going to be a schmow face because you don't understand that her enjoying herself has nothing to do with you. And it's the perfect setup because it's 2 women. There's one, the one who's dancing appears, at least to me, to being Hispanic. The other one is Caucasian. So there's all kinds of different racial, cultural, levels of this access to pleasure. And people are pissed off. I've never seen anything like it. I'm sad for you that you've never had pancakes that made you dance anywhere, ever.
My best friend and I went and pretended to be drunk at IHOP the other night because we weren't pretending to be drunk, but it was a midnight run to IHOP, and you only do that when you're trashed, right? But we both decided at 10 o'clock at night we were hungry, and that was the only solution. So I've danced for pancakes several times in the middle of the night. I've done it while I'm hungover. I've done it while I'm sober.
And so the ability for her to fully self-express. And I don't care if she did it for cameras. I don't care, because that's not the point. The point is, do we have access? Because that is the buildup for the next one. The ones after this, if you don't have access to self-expression, if you don't have access to education, if you don't have access to the economics, because sex costs money. whether you're talking about birth control, whether you're talking about lube, whether you're talking about condoms, whether you're talking about just being educated, whether you're talking about a safe place to have sex, if you're talking about the toys, all of that is a fundamental level of access. Not only that, we have differing degrees of who's allowed to get away with what and have access to what based on how we see them. We have someone who is very powerful in politics, much to my personal and professional chagrin, who, if he was anyone else, the fact that he had been accused of sexual assault and actually found guilty in some cases would eliminate him from basic jobs. This dude wouldn't be able to allow to work at Whataburger in some of these cases, and yet he's still running for president. And that's because the economic and equity, educate, and access allows him to do that. It just allows him to do that. If someone else had done that, anyone else, perhaps a few shades darker, perhaps with a name like a Muslim name, had he done those things, had he been accused of sexual assault, he would be persona non grata. He would not even be able to do anything. We have an idea of who's allowed to sleep with whom. It's okay if you're super older, as long as if you're 65 and she's 25, that's okay. That's hot. It doesn't matter that you're still technically kind of, sort of, possibly in other cultures, a pedophile. And so we have to start looking at where do we excuse and what are we using to excuse people's sexual access, especially when we are talking about sexual access to things that otherwise would not be okay. Again, going back to the Reba McEntire, fancy conversation. This is also an access conversation because who's allowed the access is really important. I don't know what just happened. Did I lose you?
I can hear you. You're
okay.
Just frozen.
I'm just frozen. Okay. So I think we should go ahead and close out. We're kind of at that point anyway. I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry. I think I got a phone call. So anyway, you want to just...
So if you are... if you're interested in any of those conversations, access, really just getting space and being where you need to be, go ahead and over on that side, we have the QR codes. So meet with DeVika, talk about getting access to things that you maybe have heard us talk about, but haven't really been able to delve into. And if you are just in a space, there's a fly on my camera. So he has flashed everybody this whole time. Everybody has got some.
He wants access. He wants access to
it's been a tech amazing day. But yeah, really looking at the access of things that maybe you haven't had available to yourself. Check it out, talk about it, but really look into what are you missing? What have you been missing? What can't you understand? Is there something that somebody says consistently that you're not grasping? If you have a friend of a different color and you just don't understand what their struggle is, reach out, figure things out so that you're not assuming, because we all know what assuming is. So over there, QR codes, go ahead and meet with us. If you liked this episode, we are in episode 7. There is a QR code for all of the other episodes.
We're in episode 5. We're in episode 5. Oh, we're in episode 7, topic 5. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
We are. We're all the numbers.
And I just want to say, if you're mad about something, confused about something, or you feel a certain particular way about something, consider that's an indication you don't have access to it. So, all right, Brittany, thank you guys. Go ahead and close this out.